Hello and welcome to my first ever Valorant guide. So this guide is meant for newbie players like you who have never tried first person shooter games, and hopefully this tutorial can help you get a hold of how to play Valorant a little bit more. Alright, so without much ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, so first things first, you want to find your sensitivity. So to find the perfect sensitivity, you should have about 180-degree view when you drag your mouse across your mouse pad. Head over to the range and try shooting the bots at different positions. Then, do micro adjustments to your sensitivity with the panel below until you are comfortable. It's best to have a bigger mouse pad and use a lower sense because it helps with stability and consistency. So think of your mouse as a car steering wheel. If it's too reactive and sensitive, you gon' swerve off the road, bitch! Alright, now that's done, let's find you a crosshair that fits you. There are many shapes and colors of crosshairs that you can use, such as dots, squares, etc. There are also many YouTube videos to give you custom crosshair settings. For me, I'm using a small cyan blue crosshair, and because I'm playing on a 27-inch monitor, the small crosshair is perfect for my eyes to locate the heads of enemies further away. However, if you are playing on a smaller screen, you should definitely change the size and shape according to your comfort levels. Now before we jump into anything bang, there are some things damn important you need to know. Aiming down sights, bullet spray, and movement accuracy. So right clicking on all guns except sidearms and shotguns allow you to aim down sights, or as players would call it, ADS. But 3 words for you: don't do it. Never do it unless you are firing at someone very far away from you. Aiming down sights make your firing rate significantly slower, and even the buffer time from pulling up the sights already take up crucial milliseconds where you could have been firing at the enemy. Bullet spray. It happens when you continuously fire your gun for some time and then it starts recoiling, floating upwards and firing everywhere except for your target. Every automatic or semi-auto gun has their own bullet spray pattern, and it will take some time playing to get used to each of them. There are 3 easy ways to counter the spray. 1 is to fire in bursts, firing 2 to 3 bullets before letting the gun reset to its original level. 2. Pulling down your mouse to compensate for the added height of the spray. Or 3. Crouching to make the spray grouping smaller. Out of all 3 methods, crouch spraying is the most beginner friendly, but against players of higher skill, it is not always the most efficient way to play, especially at mid to long ranges because you can't really control where the bullets will fly. The other crucial knowledge you need to know in Valorant is to stand still when you shoot at a distance, as guns in Valorant are highly inaccurate when you're moving. Now I emphasize at a distance because you can kinda spray with automatic guns at close range while running around and still get kills. However, you should always try to stand still before shooting if the enemies are quite some distance away from you. Do note that standing still does not have to be for a long duration. You should always reposition yourself after a few shots, and I'll talk more about this later. Now let's talk about basic movement. So you may have known that W moves you forward, S moves you backwards, A makes you walk left, and D makes you walk right. Simply holding WASD makes loud thumping footsteps. By holding the shift key, you can walk silently at about half the running speed. This is very crucial for sneaky plays or when you don't want to alert the enemy of your presence. Taking out your knife and holding it while moving makes you move faster as well. However, while you get a speed boost, you are essentially bringing a knife to a gunfight. So only bring out your knife to move around when you are sure it is completely safe to do so. Then switch back to your strongest gun whenever you predict or hear enemies. Also, did you know that the A and D keys make you move faster than holding W and S? Walking forwards or backwards is actually slower than moving sideways. When you hold A or D, you are strafing, and using these simple keys instead of W and S may just save your life in a gunfight. Okay, so here comes the lengthy part, the Armory and Economy. So after pressing B to open up the shop, this Armory is gonna seem damn daunting at first. Sibai Nabe, so many fucking guns to use, which one to use? Okay, calm down brother, I guide you through. I'll also talk about the economy aspect, spray pattern and range of each gun as I go through them. So, starting from the right side of the shop, the armors. Talking about this part is important as it will be referenced multiple times throughout the Armory tutorial. Light shields cost less but give you lesser armor with only 25 more HP. This is often used in early game or saving rounds, which I'll talk about more later. Heavy shields, or full shields as we call it, give you 50 more HP. This is an essential in every fight in a mid game where everyone has money because it keeps you alive for the longest time. Now we can talk about the left side of the shop, the sidearms or pistols. This is usually used in the first round when you start a game, the pistol round, where you only have money for sidearm and abilities or sidearm and light shields. They are also frequently bought when you are saving in an eco round. An eco round is when you can't afford even a rifle, so you buy cheap gear such as a sidearm and light shields in an effort to make sure that your minimum next round is around 5,000 credits, so you can afford better guns next round. From the top left, the classic. Spray, medium. Range, medium. This is the gun you're gonna spawn with at the very first round and consecutively after you die. It has two shooting modes, the left click being your typical bang bang bang, while the right click acts like a mini shotgun, shooting 3 bullets in a cone shape. I wouldn't really recommend the right click unless the enemy is very close to you, because the long ass cooldown before you can shoot again gets me killed all the damn time. Going down the list, we have the shorty. Spray, low. Range, very short. It is a mini shotgun with 2 rounds in it before you have to reload. It is not the most beginner friendly, but satisfying to unload 2 clips in your enemies' faces. Thirdly, the frenzy. Spray, a little high. Range, medium. This is the only automatic pistol in the game. It has a relatively drastic spray pattern, so I'd recommend to fire in bursts, especially at mid-range. Next, the Ghost. Spray, medium. Range, medium to long. Personally, this is my favorite gun because of its capability to one-shot with a headshot at mid-range in the very first round, where people wouldn't normally buy shields. Lastly, we have the Sheriff. Spray, very low. Range, long. A sexy revolver to practice your one-tap headshots because of its 159 damage headshots at mid-range that will shred through even heavy shields. Now moving on to the SMGs, or small submachine guns and shotguns. These are the guns you will usually buy when you win the first round and force buy, or when you are half buying during the mid-game. Force buying is about buying the best gun available with whatever amount of credits you have left. So first we have the Stinger. Spray, very high. Range, short to medium. With its recent buff, it is a decent cheap SMG, especially at short ranges with its crazy high firing rate, but I still prefer my trusty Spectre. Spray, medium. Range, short to medium. I don't know if it's the way it looks or the way it fires, but this gun has my heart. Actually, I think it's the fact that you can run and gun with this gun and still get kills. Bucky. Spray, low. Range, short to medium. Like the classic, this gun has 2 firing modes. However, the difference between both modes is just varying in distance. The left click works best at point blank range, while the right click allows for some mid-range gunfights. Judge. Spray, slightly low. Range, medium. Automatic shotgun, a Bucky on crack. Try it. Moving on to the rifles, these are guns that you should buy the moment you can afford it, especially the Phantom and Vandal. The damage and range of these guns are worth the price. These are usually bought during force buy and full buy rounds. Full buy rounds are when you buy full loadouts, the best guns, full abilities, and full shields. The only thing players wouldn't buy is a sidearm, because you'd want to save a little money in case you die that round. For the rifles, we have the Bulldog. Spray, slightly high. Range, medium to long. The special thing about this gun is that you fire in 3 round bursts when you're aiming down sights. I say special, not necessarily a good thing. I wouldn't recommend this rifle unless the team is full or force buying and you don't have enough money for a Phantom or Vandal. Guardian. Spray, low. Range, long. It is a semi-auto rifle and functions like a sniper rifle without the zoom scopes. It works well at medium range too. Overall, I felt that it is a tier above the Bulldog if you can land your shots. Phantom. Spray, average. Range, medium to long. This is a beginner-friendly automatic rifle and this gun accompanied me climbing from bronze to silver ranks because of its leniency on crouch spraying. Even if you panic and accidentally crouch spray at an enemy 30 meters away from you, there's a higher chance of you landing your shots and killing them as compared to the Vandal. Spray high, range medium to very long. This is an intermediate difficulty rifle mainly because of its high bullet spray pattern. The reason why its range extends all the way to very long is because there is no damage fall off and remains 160 damage for a headshot no matter the range. This rifle forces you to learn how to fire in bursts before repositioning and only spraying at close ranges. Okay, we are almost done, y'all. Hang in there. The sniper rifles and heavy machine guns next are versatile categories of weapons that can be used in any phase of the game. Martial. Spray, none. Range, medium to very long. It is a good and cheap gun to buy on the second round, especially after you won the first, because it does 101 damage on a body shot. If the enemies didn't buy shields, which they probably won't if they are saving, you get a one shot one kill for every body shot. Operator. Spray, none. Range, long to very long. This motherfucker is a martial on crack. No matter full shields or not, this sniper rifle shreds through any enemy with 150 damage to the body. The only downside to this gun is that this is the only gun which is wildly inaccurate without scoping, even if you're standing still. Lastly, the heavy machine guns are the cocos of the SMGs, with a higher firing rate and bullet magazine size than them. Ares. Spray, high. Range, medium. This thing looks bulky and hits relatively hard. The main thing about this is that the firing rate is so high, you're almost guaranteed a kill if you crouch spray, making it extremely beginner friendly. Odin. Spray, high. Range, medium. This is the most cancer gun in the game. Only tryhards use this gun. But high key though, it's damn fun to just spam this down choke points just to mow people down. 100 bullets in one clip allow you to just spray and pray anyone you see. Alright, and with that, we are done with the Armory. So to recap on the economy of the Armory, 1. You get more money as every round passes, allowing for force and full buys. 2. You get money when you get kills, bomb plants and diffusers, so don't forget to plant the spike even after you won the round. 3. When you die, you don't get as much money. Eventually you have to resort to force and half buys. Sometimes you even need to go on eco or saving rounds to afford better guns the next round. Okay, now I'll be talking about wall banging. Sounds sus, but it just refers to shooting through thin walls at a reduced amount of damage dealt. Thin walls include crates scattered around maps and the corners of thick walls. Not all guns can do this, however. Guns that sound heavy hitting usually can shoot through walls effectively and painfully. The guns that can wallbang with the most penetration and least damage fall off are heavy machine guns, Ares and Odin. Paired with some agents' abilities to reveal enemies behind walls, such as Sova darts or Failed Eyes, you can do some cancer plays. Even if you aren't sure if your gun can shoot through walls, just do it anyways. You might even get a kill or two. Now that you have an idea about the guns in Valorant, let's talk about gunplay knowledge. I'll be going through peeking, pre-aiming, crosshair placement and positioning. So first, peeking is when you swing out from a corner to check or shoot at an enemy that you otherwise cannot see. It is almost always done with the strafe keys A and D. As I mentioned before, you move the fastest, giving the enemy less time to react and shoot you. There are two forms of peeking, passive and offensive. The passive type of peeking is called peeking for information. Peeking for info, as the name suggests, means to peek solely to check if there are enemies near you, or to check if there are any players with an operator. A recap in case you forgot, an operator is a sniper rifle that instantly kills you if you're shot in the body. Of course, this is done without a wallbang. There are two ways to do info peeking. The simplest and safest method is called jiggle peeking. To execute this, take out your knife and using only the A and D keys, strafe one direction and quickly strafe to the other direction once your shoulder is exposed out of cover. Another method is called jump peeking, but I wouldn't get into it in this video. You can search jump peeking tutorials on YouTube if you're prepared to try it. Even if you didn't quite catch a glimpse of the number of enemies, it will appear on the map as question marks, and your character will provide an audio cue to the rest of your team. You won't be able to hear this, but the rest of your team will. For offensive peeking, there are usually 2 types used in lower skill levels and 2 more in higher skill levels. For the lower skill levels, the peeks used are run peeking, where you strafe run and swing out. This is usually the safest offensive peek because you allow enough space for your teammates to peek with you. Even if you unfortunately die, there is a high chance that your teammates can cover fire and trade your death for an enemy's. I'll talk more about trading and other team play mechanics in a bit. The other type of peeking is called walk peeking, where you strafe walk out of a corner. This is only useful if the enemies have gotten used to you running out and they are prepared to shoot where you usually run out to. The position where you walk out to shoot is significantly different than the position of you running out to shoot, and it will sometimes catch the enemy off guard. The 2 additional types of peeking in higher skill levels are crouch peeking and jiggle peeking. Crouch peeking is a super goofy cheesy way of peeking because it is so unconventional it catches even pro players off guard. Almost no one will expect an enemy to be way below eye level, and you can use that delayed reaction time to kill the enemy. However, this trick will only work against higher skilled players because players of lower skill would have their crosshair placement way below head level. Lastly, jiggle peeking can be used for both info peeking and offensive peeking. This is one of the more interesting Valorant mechanics that I think everyone should learn. When you hold A, let go and hold D at the same time, there is a fraction of a second when your bullets are as accurate as you standing still, even though you are on the move. You can abuse this to your advantage to jiggle peek and fire your gun rather than holding your knife. This mechanic can be applied to gunfights at long ranges in the open as well. This helps with evading bullets as it is harder to land a shot on a moving target. However, your crosshair should still be on the enemy's heads to kill them effectively. Speaking of that, this brings me to my next topic, crosshair placement. You need to know what this shit is because it makes or breaks your Valorant games. In Valorant, all agents have the same height and hitbox, making it easier to train your aim and position your crosshair. By mastering crosshair placement, you can get headshots and kills much easier. If you pay attention, there are also many leading lines around the map that help you aim at head level. Boxes and crates around the map are usually head level, as well as painted lines on structures and buildings. Use this as your guide and to your advantage. By constantly practicing aiming at head level, you will subconsciously do it whenever you pick up a gun, and all that's left to do is to left click. Now, pre-aiming is closely related to crosshair placement and the opposite of peeking. There are many corners in every Valorant map. The best way to reduce reaction time and kill the enemy before they can kill you is to pre-aim at spots enemies might be at, or corners that enemies may pick from. There are many angles you can pre-aim at, but the best way is to hold an angle about 1 to 2 centimeters between your crosshair and the corner. This is to compensate for your reaction time if the enemy run peeks. In lower skill levels, enemies may choose to walk peek, so you can hold the corner a little tighter. Make sure to observe how the enemies play in between rounds to form a judgment. You should use pre-aiming together with peeking to clear angles faster and more effectively. Now let's move on to some team play tips. So I mentioned just now that you run peek so your teammate can follow up shots with you, right? Now let me talk more about swinging out together and trading kills. No matter who the agent is, you should always play with your team, and always provide supporting fire whenever you hear your teammate firing their gun against one enemy. There is a high chance that both of you will win the gunfight, resulting in a 5v4, putting your team at an advantage. Even if your teammate dies, trade your teammate's death immediately for an enemy's. That way, both teams will still be equally matched where it's a 4v4. If you're hiding while your teammate dies to a single enemy, the game gets significantly harder when it's a 4v5. Your teammates will also blame you for baiting them, meaning you left them to die while you hid away, just so you can get a kill at the unsuspecting enemy because they didn't know you were there. So don't be a dick. Fight together or die together. The only time you should back away and hide is when more than 2 enemies are shooting at your teammate. In that case, fall back and make another plan. Now I'll be going through some general agent ability callouts. In Valorant, ability callouts are generalized by what they do and how they look like. The most common ability callouts are 1. Smokes. These are smoke screens that prevent you from seeing past the ball of smoke. 2. Flash or blind. As the name states, these are flashbangs or blinds that restrict your vision. 3. Molly. This is a short term for Molotovs, and they do what Molotovs do. Explode into a pool on the floor that damage you if you stand inside it. 4. Concuss. Concussive blasts make players dazed and their screens go woozy and they are unable to shoot properly. These abilities can be called out any time of the game, so do pay attention whenever your teammates call these out. Now I'll be talking about some objective knowledge that you should know and some default planting tips. So you start off the game as either the defending team or the attacking team. As the defenders, you need to stop the attackers from planting the bomb, also known as the spike, either by killing all 5 of them, holding out until the timer runs out, or defusing the spike after it's planted. Doing any of the 3 action gives you a win, granting your team a point. As the attackers, you need to either kill all 5 defenders or plant the bomb and get it to explode.
Spike planted.
This way, your team gets a point. After 12 rounds, the roles of both teams will be swapped. The defenders are now the attackers and vice versa. The first team to 13 points win.
Not so tough after all.
As the attackers, there are 2 sites for you to plant the spike.
Right here.
This applies to every map
Right
except
here.
Haven. On Haven, there are 3. Sites can be seen as large areas marked on your map in a different color. While you are holding the spike, the area in your point of view has an outer glow that indicates the planting area. Multiple sites give you the option to go from one site to the other as and when you like. This action is called rotating. Some scenarios that would be a good decision to rotate include teammates dying before pushing a site, many abilities like smoke or mollies preventing you from pushing onto site, or making noise at one site so enemies would gather at one site ready to stop your push. There are many strategies to play around, and you will learn them as you play more. Some of these strategies include split pushing and lurking.
Careful here. Going mid. Going A.
Planting the spike takes exactly 4 seconds,
10
so you
seconds
can do
left.
whatever you want, such as fake planting to trick enemies into thinking you don't know about their presence. As long as you leave at least 4 seconds on the match
Spike
timer
planted.
to fully plant the spike, everything's good. As the defenders, the best strategy is to spread out your team across all sites. It's best to have 2 players on each side and 1 player on mid. This way, with proper communications, the team can respond and rotate over quickly to force the attackers out of a site. Now let's talk about some basic map callouts. Learning the map you are playing in is very important, but there's no need to rush it as a new player. This knowledge comes slowly as you play more. In the meanwhile, I'll help you understand some general and basic map callouts you will hear players screaming in the voice chat. First, we have Site Main. This refers to the main entrance of a site where enemies can enter from. It is usually bigger and more grandiose. Next, we have Site Short. This is referring to the shorter path that leads up to another entrance of the site. Think of it as a side gate. Mid, place or object. This refers to the middle section of the map where enemies can push through it and head over to either sites, because it is all connected. However, some maps do not have a mid, such as bind. Heaven. This usually refers to a built-in platform in a building that acts as a second floor. Hell. Opposite of heaven, this refers to a concave area built under heaven. Flank refers to an enemy who made their way all the way around you and your team. This calls for your attention to check your back because you may just get shot by an enemy where you would least expect it. Care, shop, flank, heaven, etc. Usually paired with another callout, care means to take care of or check.
Oh, she saw me first! One B win up. Okay. So,
Enemy remaining.
This!
Stop
Oh, she saw me first! One B win up. Okay. So,
Enemy remaining.
This!
Don't stop
Okay.
Attacker is winning.
It was really fun.
What did I say? Don't mess with me.
Alright, and with that, we have come to the end of my Valorant tutorial. Thank you so much if you have made it all the way to this part, and I hope that my effort hasn't gone to vain. Gone to waste. Okay, bye bye.